Hi, our topic for today is about COVID-19 efficacy.
The Pfizer vaccine was the very first vaccine produced. The Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine delivers a tiny piece of genetic code from SARS-CoV-2 virus to host cells in the body, essentially giving those cells instructions or blueprints for making copies of spike proteins. These proteins stimulate an immune response, producing antibodies and developing memory cells that will recognize and respond if the body is infected with the actual virus.
The Moderna vaccine is recommended for 18 and up. It is tested for 12 and 17 years old. When the vaccine is given, the effect is lessened and our immune system against COVID-19 will also be strengthened. This is also the second vaccine received here in our country. Two shots are also Moderna, 28 days apart. It is also long-term in storage.
The Johnson & Johnson works like this. Because this is a carrier vaccine, which uses a different approach delivering mRNA vaccines to instruct human cells to make the SARS-CoV-2 spike protein. Scientists engineer a harmless adenovirus, a common virus that, when not inactivated, can cause colds, bronchitis, and other illnesses. As a shell to carry genetic code of the spike proteins to the cells, similar to a Trojan horse. The shells in the code can make you sick, but once the code is inside the cells produce a spike protein to train the body immune system, which creates antibodies and memory cells to protect against an actual SARS-CoV-2 infection. The Johnson & Johnson is recommended for adults 18 and older, and the dosage is single shot in November. Johnson & Johnson announced it would launch a second phase 3 clinical trial to study using doses 2 months apart to see if the regimen could provide better protection.
And that's all. Thank you for listening. And our next topic is all about child labor.
Child labor, one of the critical issues in the Philippines.
Child labor refers to the exploitation of children through any form of work that deprives children of their childhood, which can interfere with their ability to attend regular school and is mentally, physically, socially, and morally harmful. When children work like adults, this will deprive them of their childhood. Very often, they cannot attend regular school either. This kind of work is very harmful.
Children in the Philippines has a worst form of labor like sexual exploitation, something that affects their mental health.
Affects the children.
Children forced to work in a worst case condition and traumatizing exploitation that will affect their mental health in long term. Without a proper education, as a children will have no chance to have a proper job. And in a future, their child may have to work in a young age. Thank you for listening.
And our next topic is vows, which means violence against women. And our reporter is Alisa Nicole Bautista. And
Daniel Jeff Kagati.
Today we will discuss about violence against women, so if you want to learn about this type of social issue, just listen attentively.
So what do we mean by RA 9262? It's an act defining violence against women and their children, providing for protective measures for victims. It's also an act that protects women and children victims of war. The victims under RA 9262 are women and the most of the victims are being discriminated.
So let us now move on with what is the purpose of VAWA. So what are the types of violence against women? There are 5 types of violence against women: economic violence, psychological violence, emotional violence, and physical violence. Sexual violence. Effects of violence in women.
1. Depression. 2. Anxiety. 3. Post-traumatic stress disorder. 4. Suicide. 5. Increased risk of cardiovascular disease. 6. Premature mortality.
The impact of violence ranges from immediate to long-term physical, sexual, and mental health consequences for women and girls, including death. Most women hide and keep such problems because they're afraid of the threats that can happen. More likely, naapektuhan po yung mental health nila na pwede mag-cause ng death. Naapektuhan din yung trust nila sa isang tao. Aside from what is said in the slide, the purpose of VAWA is they are the ones who respond to the victim of crimes, and they learn more about the crimes. So this particularly means that the VAWA helps the victims of abuse and they help to prevent violent crimes. It simply protects every woman who is abused or mistreated, including the immediate family of the victim. So that is the end of our slide. Thank you for listening. Let us now
So data theft is stealing information from your computer, servers, or other devices without you knowing that they were going to compromise your privacy and they were going to steal your confidential information. How do I data thief get your personal information? The most commonly way include phishing. Phishing is a method of trying to gather personal information using deceptive emails and websites. Next is hacking company databases to steal personal information or data information. Data breach. Data breach making telemarketing calls asking for account or personal information. Next is people being careless. People may also provide easy access to the personal information by behaving carelessly, such as not protecting their mobile or computer with passwords, accidentally downloading spyware or malware, or taking photo of their driver's license, my boarding pass, or personal information and posting it in social media. What can identity thieves do with the stolen information? Once they get hold of your personal information, they can do many things with under your name, such as open a bank account to open a bank account or obtain credit cards or loans. They can also buy expensive items or obtain genuine documents such as passport and driver's license in your name. They can take over your existing account in social media or even use your identity to commit crimes like murder, money laundering, and so on.
What are the consequences for the victims of data theft? They might end up being saddled with debts or worse, still end up in jail.
Our topic for today is about prison overcrowding. From the word overcrowding, it's a situation of a crowd where they have small space to move. Prison overcrowding is one of the critical issues in the Philippines, and this issue is not new but is already brewing in a past years. What's the cause of prison overcrowding? Philippines is one of the highest jail occupancy rate or the most crowded prison in the world. Duterte's government focus on the wars on drugs, which hundreds of thousands of people have been jailed since July 2016. Imagine how many drug users are in the Philippines. And since March 2020, people have been jailed due to violating lock-up curfews.
The Manila City Jail is the largest jail in the Philippines. The jails are divided into dorms for 170 inmates, but due to overcrowding, 500 inmates can fit in these dorms. Because of overcrowding in prison, the main problem of prisoners is that they don't have their own privacy, and because they don't have privacy, they get mental illness and sometimes they hurt themselves. Because of COVID-19, the Philippine authorities need to release those in prison with low cases, non-violent offenses, elderly prisoners, and those with serious illness because they are also concerned that the virus can easily spread if they are overcrowded. Due to overcrowding and the spread of the virus, the Philippine government must immediately reduce the numbers of prisoners, and the only one they will release are those with low cases and those who have chronic diseases.
The government should reduce the overcrowding facilities by releasing minor offenders. They should release the minor offenders to reduce the overcrowding in the jail, and they should release the older prisoners, thus this can cause the spread of COVID-19. Since October 23 in Manila, 81,800 prisoners have been released. It's the effort to decongest and prevent the decontamination of COVID-19 spread. What is the impact of the problem in the prison overcrowding? Number one, increasing the risk of COVID-19 spread. This can increase the COVID-19 spread due to overcrowding with no face mask and no social distancing. Two, they can get sick easily and it can spread to the other inmates, and with so many of them, it can be possible that there will be a shortage of food and equipment like clothes in the prison. Yes, they can get easily because bacteria can be passed due to overcrowding and with face-to-face contact. With so many of them, yes, it's possible that there will be a shortage of food and clothes. 3. It will be difficult for them to sleep in an environment. 3. It will be difficult for them to sleep in an environment where they are cramped together with no room to stretch out. Yes, it's true, and it's because there are so many of them and there is not enough space for them to sleep. And lastly, 4, related problems such as lack of privacy can also cause or exacerbate mental health problems and increase the rates of violence, self-harm, and suicide. I think every prisoners or every person needs privacy, and this can lead to health problems and can lead to self-harm and suicide. That's all. Thank you for listening. Thank you. And our next topic is flood and landslide.
Good
Good day,
day,
everyone.
everyone. We're talking
Today we'll
about
be talking about
flooding and
flooding and
landslide.
landslide.
What are the three common types of flood? Flash floods are caused by rapid and excessive rainfall that rises water heights quickly and rivers, streams, and channel or roads may be overtaken. Floods are caused when consistent rains or snowmelt forces a river to exceed capacity. Coastal floods are caused by storm surge associated with tropical cyclones and tsunami. What are the five cause and effects of flooding? Number one, heavy rains. The simplest explanation for flooding is heavy rains. No matter where you live, you are surrounded by infrastructure and systems designed to move rainwater into appropriate basin or reservoir. In most cases, the infrastructure does its job and you never have to think about where the rain goes when it runs off. The effect, when it rains heavily, however, those systems are overwhelmed and that water doesn't drain nearly as quickly as it needs to. In short, the drainage system back up and the water rises sometimes into homes. This typical happens only in cases of sustained heavy rains over a long period. Number two, overflowing rivers. The cause is you do not necessarily need to have heavy rains to experience flooding in your area. For example, if you live along a river and areas upstream from you experience heavy rains, it could lead to a serious overflow where you live. Most larger rivers include a series of dams to help manage large amount of rainfall, and most river systems are managed by government authorities. The effect is sometimes, however, those authorities have to make tough decisions about how to operate dams. They often can manage the water and prevent flooding altogether, but not always. Number three, storm surge and tsunamis. Rain is not always the culprit when it comes to flooding. Storm surge related to hurricanes and other storms can lead to significant flooding, as can tsunamis that are sometimes caused by underwater earthquakes. So the effect is, given modern technology, we often know about storm surge and tsunamis before they arrive, but this is not always the case. For example, in 2004, an earthquake off the coast of Indonesia created a tsunami that gave a little warning before coming ashore. Number four, melting snow and ice. A winter of heavy snow and other precipitation can lead to a spring of flooding. After all, that snow and ice have to go somewhere when they melt. Most mountainous areas experience relatively consistent snowfalls total from year to year. But unusually, heavy winter of precipitation can spell bad news for low-lying areas around the mountains when spring hits. The good news is that sustained winter precipitation provides a long lead time to prepare for potential flooding. That is a silver lining at the very least. The effect, these are just a few examples of common causes of flood, but there's not need to be an incredible weather event for you to experience flooding at your home. You can experience devastating flooding simply due to a clog or broken pipes as well as other plumbing issues. No matter how or why you experience a flood, you need a qualified restoration professional with quality tools to help you get your home back into working order again. Number five, channels with steep sides. Flooding often occurs when there is fast runoff into lakes, rivers, and other reservoirs. This is often the case with rivers and other channels that feature steep sides. It is a similar issue to having a lack of vegetation, which explained in more detail below.
How landslide occur? A landslide occurs because the force of gravity becomes greater than the either friction or internal strength of the rock, solid, or sediment. The amount of friction between deposit rock or soil and the slope that is rest on plays large role in landslide happened. Types of landslides. Number one is flows. Flows are generally slurry mixture of water, soil, rock, or debris that moves rapidly downslope. Flows may or may not be confined to a channel. Earth flow have a characteristic hourglass shape. The slope material is liquefied and run out, normally of bowl or depression of the heads. Flows usually occur in fine-grained materials on moderate water texture slope. Flow usually occurs in steep gills or contain more coarse material than mud flow. They move rapidly and can travel in many miles. Slope or vegetation that has been removed by fire, humans, or greater risk of debris flows. Debris avalanche are unchannelized debris flow that moves very rapidly. They typically do not mobilize any sum of more like snow avalanche. Lahars, a debris flows originated on volcanoes. A volcano eruption can rapidly melt snow and ice, causing the deluge of rock, soil, and ash and water accelerate down the slopes of a volcano, devastating anything in its path. They can travel great distance and damage structures in flat areas from their source. Community near rivers draining mountain range declaration of greater risk.
Long-term side effects. The side effects usually occur within the first few days of getting a vaccine. Since the first mass vaccination program started in early December 2020, hundreds of millions of vaccines doses have been administered. There have been concerns about COVID-19 vaccines making people sick with COVID-19, but none of the approved vaccines contain the live virus that causes COVID-19, which means that COVID-19 vaccines cannot make you sick with COVID-19. After vaccination, it usually takes a few weeks for the body to build immunity against SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19. So, it's possible a person could be infected with SARS-CoV-2 just before or after vaccination and still get sick with COVID-19. This is because the vaccine has not yet had enough time to provide protection. Experiencing side effects after getting vaccinated means the vaccine is working and your immune system is responding as it should. Vaccines are safe, and getting vaccinated will help you protect you against COVID-19.
Less common side effects. Upon receiving the vaccine, a person should be requested to stay for 15 to 30 minutes at the vaccination site so health workers or individuals should alert in their local health providers following vaccination if they experience any unexpected side effects or other health events, such as side effects lasting more than 3 days. Less common side effects reported for some COVID-19 vaccines have included severe allergic reactions such as anaphylaxis. However, this reaction is extremely rare. National authorities and international bodies, including WHO, are closely monitoring for any unexpected side effects following COVID-19 vaccine use.
There are five things that can resolve child labor, and these are
1. Strengthening economic support to families. Strengthening and providing every household a financial security so in the future that they don't have a financial problem.
second is change social norms to support parents in positive parenting. From the word itself, positive parenting. By enhancing their parenting, they need to be exposed in public engagement and enhancement campaigns like school orientation, like Family Day. Third is provide quality care and education early in life.
Getting a proper education gives a child a higher chance to secure its future so that they don't have a problem, like example a child laboring, so they don't so their children may not experience the same thing that they experience.
Fourth is enhance parenting skills to promote healthy child development. Just like I said on the second recommendations on child laboring is enhancing parenting skills. By enhancing parenting skills, it can provide healthy child development on the children by home, early home visitation and parenting skills and family relationship approaches, which means quality time with the family.
Intervene to lessen harm and preventing future risk. Providing a good education, enhancing a primary care, and giving a financial support, preventing a future risk.
Treatment and prevention are needed to lessen the harms and abuse that can neglect exposure to the children to the children and prevent them in later involvement in violence.
Use your voice. Speak for yourself for the awareness of other people. Don't let them look down on you.
We're standing up for the rights of women and girls across the globe to end sexual and physical violence, economic, spiritual, political, and social, cultural inequality, to empower women and girls to create their own independent futures. The struggle of women and girls must not be underestimated, especially when in time of crisis such as war and famine. It's females who are most affected. These are our recommendations.
Listen to and believe survivors.
Teach the next generation and learn from them.
Call for the respondents and fit for purposes.
Understand consent.
Learn the signs of abuse and how can you help them.
Start a conversation.
Stand against rape culture.
Fund women's organizations.
Hold each other accountable.
Know the data and demand more of it. So we have our own opinion about our topic. As a woman, I believe that we are not just women. We are human beings who should be respected and valued. Women are not a toy that you can hurt when you want to. Women should not be discriminated based on their appearance and their skin color. Nor should women be taught to dress because no woman would want to be abused because of the way they move, speak, and dress. Basically, it doesn't matter what woman is wearing or how they are acting. No one asked to be abused in any way. If you love your other half, you will not be able to hurt him or her. Because true love is based on respect, care, and equal respect in a relationship. Abusing someone, especially women, is not a private matter, but a crime. It is a violation of women's rights.
So for my opinion, in violence against women, it's an act that will result to being incarcerated if you do anything that will affect them, the woman physically, psychologically.
How to protect yourself from data theft. Methods of data theft evolve rapidly as new mediums such as social media develop so quickly. It is almost impossible to completely prevent data theft. However, it is possible to reduce the likelihood of being targeted by taking certain precautions such as protect your online privacy and limit what you share on social media. Be aware of suspicious emails. Check your credit profile regularly and don't click announce notifications such as cookies.
Solution on the problem. Number one, building more prison. Building more prison is the best way to solve the prison overcrowding, to build more room for prisoners to sleep, and to prevent COVID-19 spread. Number two, releasing those that have committed crimes that are now legal. Releasing those who commit crimes that are now legal. What's the point of keeping them in a jail if the crime that they commit is now legal? They must release that who commit the crimes that are now legal to prevent the COVID-19 spread. 3. Releasing minor offenders. Releasing minor offenders like the curfews offenders, they should release them to prevent the COVID-19 spread. 4. Releasing older prisoners due to COVID-19. They should release older people due to COVID-19. If one of them have weak immune system, they can be vulnerable to COVID-19 and this can spread easily to the prison. And lastly, balance the amount of prisoners per room. They should balance the prisoners per room. They must at least have space to sleep and some social distancing to prevent COVID-19 spread.
How can we prevent flooding? Number one, introduce a better flood warning device so it can give people more time to prepare and take action during flash flood. It can also save more lives by releasing an early warning. Number two, construct a building that is 1 meter or more from the ground to prevent flood damage. Number 3, restore river and clean drainage to prevent flood. The mere fact that the rivers will restore to its original state and drainages are clean, the flow of water can be controlled and damage may be prevented. And number 4, add flood barriers so it can control flood. It can also contain water and damage to properties can be prevented. And number 5, apply the technological innovation and advancement where a flood can be determined before it actually happens and prevention may take place immediately. So in my own words, in my opinion, flooding is a catastrophe that comes from rain, and it happens when the rain gets heavy and it accumulates on the ground. Flooding is very dangerous because it can damage buildings and nature. Many homes have been damaged due to this disaster. In order for us to survive this disaster, we need to listen to the news so that we know where there will be a flood, and we also need to be prepared because we do not know when it will happen. We also need to prepare our equipment for evacuation.
In my own opinion, landslides occurs in variety of environments. It characterized by steep or gentle slope gradient from mountain ranges, coastal cliffs, or underwater. Gravity is the primary force of landslide to occur, but there are other factors affecting slope stability that produce specific conditions that make slope prone or failures. In many cases, the landslide is triggered by a specific event like heavy rains and earthquake. This is the things that you should know when there is a landslide. If you are inside, remain where you are and take cover under the sturdy piece of furniture. If you are outside, run to the nearest high ground, away from the landslide or debris flow. If escape is not possible, turn into a tight ball to protect your head.
Every resolution that we explain comes down to us living in mid or higher status. It's all about awareness and care. Being aware of those things where came from or even end up makes differences. Caring about your surroundings makes differences. We might have a small role in these issues as a student, but being aware and have care, we make differences. We want you to be aware and have care and make differences together.